Okay, here is our lesson on the immune system. In the background here, you can see a beautiful little macrophage. He is chasing a little set of coccus-shaped bacteria. Here he goes. Eventually, he will engulf and destroy them. How cute! All right. Basic overview of the functions of the immune system. First of all, they scavenge dead or dying cells. This is a process called autophagy, in which your own body gets rid of stuff that's not working anymore. This is really important for your health because you don't want dead, broken cells hanging around your body. It also destroys abnormal or cancerous cells that it finds. And most importantly, it defends you against infectious things that don't belong inside the body. So bacteria, viruses, fungi, other types of parasites, even some types of allergens. There are two main divisions of the immune system. The first is called the innate immune system. These are just things that either completely keep pathogens outside of your body or act really fast in the same way towards any invader that does get in. So these factors are things like barriers, your skin, nose, hair, and mucous membranes. They will either just completely keep the invader out, or if they do get in, it'll trap them until a certain type of phagocyte can get there and just destroy it before it can get up into any infectious business. So these phagocytes are certain types of white blood cells that whenever they see anything unusual, they just eat them. So that's like that macrophage that was on that very first slide that was chasing down those bacteria. That phagocyte saw these bacteria. I don't know what these are. These aren't part of my body that I'm in, so I'm going to destroy them. Another factor is temperature and fever. So if you have some type of infection in your body is going to raise its temperature because it will break down the proteins of the invader and destroy it. And then also pH, so like your stomach acid or the acid mantle of your skin. These, again, the acidity can denature the proteins of the invader before they can get to be very infectious. The other division of the immune system is called the adaptive immune system, and this is specific to every single pathogen that gets inside the body. It has a much slower response time for every infection, but unlike the innate immune system, the adaptive immune system is what remembers that pathogen so that you don't get sick with the same exact bug a second time. The two major types of cells that are associated with the adaptive immune system are T cells and B cells. So B cells are going to recognize the different types of pathogens and then mark them for destruction by the T cells, which attack the infected cells. So a little bit more into the specifics of T cells. So as you know, all of the different types of white blood cells are produced in the bone marrow of bones like the femur and the humerus and the ribs, and then they travel to the thymus gland, which is shaped like this orange guy here, and located kind of in between your lungs and your chest behind your sternum there, and that is where these different types of immature white blood cells will turn into mature forms of T cells. So the three main types of T cells are cytotoxic T cells, which are the ones that travel around and destroy any kind of infected cell. Helper T cells are a certain type of T cell that when the infection occurs, they go tell B cells to start making antibodies. And then memory T cells are cells that are going to hang out in the body for years and years and years, maybe even your whole life, after the first time you got infected with a certain pathogen. And then if that same pathogen comes back, the memory T cells will recognize it, and then they can go find some B cells and tell them to make antibodies. So the B cells are made in the bone marrow and mature in the bone marrow, unlike the T cells. The T cells mature in the thymus, the B cells mature in the bone marrow, and these are the types of cells that secrete the antibodies. Antibodies are called humoral immunity. The two main types of B cells are the plasma B cells, which are the ones that design and pump out all the different antibodies. And then there are memory B cells that, kind of like the memory T cells, they just hang out in the body pretty much forever. And then when a memory T cell, if it recognizes that same pathogen again, the memory T will go tell a memory B cell, and then that memory B cell will differentiate back into some plasma cells to start pumping out a ton of antibodies really, really fast in response to the infection. So this is the general kind of pathway of the adaptive immune response in the body. So an antigen presenting cell, some type of like a macrophage or a phagocyte, finds something weird, engulfs it, takes a little piece of it, and then goes and takes it to a T cell. And the T cell looks at it and is like, okay, is this part of our body or is this something else? And so if the T cell decides, that helper T cell, if it decides that it's not part of the body and it's dangerous, the helper T cell takes that little piece of the, could be part of the viral coat or just a little chunk of protein that came off the surface of a bacteria. It's going to go show it to some B cells and to some other T cells so they can start working against this thing. So here is our little antigen presenting cell. He snatched up a piece of like bacterial protein or something, and he's showing it to this helper T cell so that he can decide what to do about it. So the next step, the B cell takes the antigen, takes it inside of itself through endocytosis, and then starts making a protein that matches exactly with it. That protein that matches with the antigen is called an antibody. And this process takes a while. So this is why the first time you get sick with something, you're sick for a while, is because it takes a bit of time for these B cells to create these antibodies. So the T cell takes that same antigen and then it turns into some type of cytotoxic T cell, and it goes running around the body looking for that antigen and killing as many things as it can find that have that antigen on it. So then when the B cell has got its antibody ready, the helper T cell is going to tell it to start dividing. Most of those B cells that are born in this way are going to be the plasma B cells that pump out antibodies, and then a couple of them are going to be memory B cells that are just going to hang out in case the infection happens again. So the antibodies travel all throughout the body, and they start binding to that antigen. Anywhere where they can find a cell or anything that has that antigen on it, these antibodies will attach to it. So the antibodies are out into the blood, they mark these antigens, and then as soon as the antibody is on that antigen, the other killer T cells can really easily recognize it, and they will go around just absolutely destroying anything they can find that has that antibody attached to it. So here's a little cartoon of a cytotoxic T cell. So then pretty much the last step is that once that infection is cleared and you're healthy again, your memory T cells and your memory B cells hang out and just wait for that thing to come back. And then since the antibody has already been created, it doesn't take a long time once that pathogen is back in your body for your body to react. So that's why you don't really get sick again from the same thing, as long as you have memory T and memory B cells around, is because they can respond almost immediately to infection with that same type of pathogen. Here's just a little overview of kind of the process. Here's our macrophage, or whatever type of phagocyte that finds something weird, eats it, takes a little piece of it, shows it to the helper T cell. You can see right here, it's like, hey, look at this. What's this little orange thing? Do you know what this is? The helper T cell's like, ugh, gross. I don't know what this is. Let me go tell everybody else. And so then the helper T cell goes and tells the B cell, hey, start making some kind of antibody for this gross thing that's in here. And then cytotoxic T cells, go see if you can find any of these and destroy it if you do find them. So some disorders of the immune system, typically they're called autoimmune because it's when your immune system attacks your own proteins. Like there's something inside of your body that your immune system, for whatever reason, is like, I don't really know what this is, so let's get rid of it. So examples of this are multiple sclerosis. This is the one we talked about this earlier this year. This is the one where the body attacks your own myelin sheath surrounding your neurons, which is really bad for your nervous system. It slows down the signals. Lupus is another example. Rheumatoid arthritis is an example. Just any type of disorder in which your body is attacking its own proteins because it can't recognize them as itself for some reason.